want me to manage that for a little bit while we have some food? Or else you could have this afterwards. I don't need to do that. There.
Hey, John and Ann. Hello, John and Ann.
Hey, how are you, Jim?
I'm good. I had to say hello after you showed up on the 26th and none of the rest of us did.
Yeah, we were it was really cold. And it was really windy.
Did you sail or motor down from Port Townsend?
We actually sailed to weather that day from Bainbridge Island. And there was no other boats out. It was kind of interesting. Of course, we couldn't see very far, so it's hard to know if anybody else was out there.
So did you find a bar or a restaurant that was warm and cozy or something?
Yeah, we actually, they didn't lose power at the port, so we heated the boat up nice and toasty warm, and we were just fine. But we did miss seeing you guys. We were looking forward to that a lot.
Yeah, I'll tell you, when I'm visiting my sister-in-law, and it's like, there's like 8 inches of snow on this steep driveway. Like, we're in Seattle. What is this?
Yeah, well, it stayed cold for the whole time we were out, and we finally just bailed on it, and then we went home, and it was a whiteout when we got home, and then after we got off the boat, it warmed up again. So I guess we just missed our opportunity.
Well, there's people starting to come. I may have to mute you.
Yeah, please do.
But it's good to hear your voice.
And nice to see you too and talk to you. But please mute us out though.
Hey, Bob.
How are you?
Good. So much running around.
Yeah, I know how that works.
Getting off an airplane, straight into a meeting, straight into, oh man, we're going to move to Napa where we have some reliable bandwidth. Time to get moving.
Cool. So I'm going to be able to, is this going yet or?
Oh yeah, it's recorded, but we'll trim it before we post it.
Okay. So we finally finalized some new safety at sea dates, so I'm going to get to announce them.
Wonderful.
Rebecca, you're the only one who knows.
Well, I think John and Ann know.
But I didn't say what the dates were.
Yes. That's like I'm trying to figure out. So I haven't looked at the SIs, and I know they've changed the safety at sea requirements, but exactly what did they change them to?
Right.
I assume we'll hear that tonight. Or I should go read the SIs. I got 5 minutes.
Yeah, well, I think there's still some tweaking that's going to happen.
Ooh, so the wording's a little open for interpretation.
Or something.
Or something.
I just saw an email, but I haven't read it yet.
Man, this is like work. What somebody thinks is perfectly clear in one part of the organization, the other part of the organization doesn't understand at all.
Yeah.
Everybody's using English, but it's not the same vocabulary. You may want to mute, Bob.
Oh, sorry, typing away, huh?
Hello, hello.
Ah, there's Corey.
What's up, Corey?
Hi, Hawkeye.
How's it going?
It's good.
Cool.
We got some chat stuff. We can see and hear you. Yes.
We
Sailors.
see and hear you.
There's always a bunch of early birds when it's sailors. I always tell my son as he's starting to crew for people, you want to show up 5 minutes before the skipper shows up, and you want to leave when the skipper walks away from his boat. That's how you get invited back.
It's good policy. I feel like that's a good way to achieve at many things. Go 5 minutes later and stay to early and stay to the end.
And help put the boat away at the end.
Yeah.
Hi guys, Corey, I just emailed you because I was having trouble, but I got in.
Okay, great.
And, you know, when on these
Sounds like it's
bigger
all no
boats,
problem.
the owner doesn't know how to put their own boat away, so they really need you. And Linda's gonna be popular today.
Yeah, so I just emailed Bob and Jim, you might have gotten it. The safety at sea, I think we have to fiddle that with that language a little more.
Yeah, I got an immediate question. So does
Yeah, I know.
that mean ABC? And I was
I
like, I don't know.
know.
Well, Melinda, you can state the intention
Yeah,
versus the wording.
well, I wrote an email to the technical group. I think our intention was to make everything at 6 years, so you didn't have to retake, that we were giving a real extension.
Yeah, not a, well, you're extended and you're not extended, and it depends on, did you take 1, 2, or 3?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I think it'll sort itself out, but yeah, I think what I'm gonna say is, I agree, it's a little unclear, and we just issued it and realized we need to fix it, and we will very quickly.
Yeah.
And
So
that
you got-
our intention was to make it easier for people because you can't get to classes.
Yep. If you got your full ISO certification 4.5 years ago, you're good to go.
Yeah.
Or 5 years ago.
Or,
Now.
yeah,
And how are we doing time-wise? We are at, my watch is
3
fast.
minutes. I got 3 minutes. I'll be right back.
Was hoping Katie would be here. I don't know if she was invited as a panelist.
Let's see.
Let's
I
see.
asked her to come and she said she was coming.
Who, Rowena?
Katie.
Oh, Rowena's coming, right?
Rowena said she would come. Jen Antrim said he would come, and Buzz said he would come,
Great.
and all the current attendees.
Of which we were up to 25.
Oh yeah, I see 30 participants.
Oh, it's jumping.
Are they waiting for us or are they listening to us?
They are listening to every word you say, Melinda.
Better not say anything bad then.
Yeah, so I don't know how many of you are hosts, but I can allow anybody to talk. So I think what we will, well, we're up to 37 participants. Depending on how this goes, we may ask people to do Q&A and then we'll talk to the text Q&A questions.
In like the chat.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. That's
And
good.
not let everybody talk. But we'll see how this goes. Depends how many people we get. We're up to 40.
Are you gonna basically moderate here, Jim, or do you want me to help? Or
I'm gonna try to moderate, Corey.
excellent. I'm just gonna stand by unless you guys want some help from me.
Well, you should be with the hook out. As everybody I deal with at work knows, Jim can talk too much, and sometimes you have to pull the hook out.
Are we gonna get to see all the faces? Or no?
I don't think so.
Okay.
And at 49, oh, there's a view here. What's the view? Oh, speaker gallery.
Well, looks like everyone's very popular. Prepare yourselves.
Here comes Rowena. 51, yes. We don't want to be seeing 51 faces in a grid.
That's true.
It was a request from the December 26th thing we couldn't do.
Ooh, you're very quiet.
Okay. We have one more minute. Let the just slightly tardy people. God, a bunch of old friends here. John Dillon. I haven't seen John in ages. Went to Hawaii with him twice, maybe. Okay, with that, we're still missing who, Mr. Antrim, or was there anybody else, a Buzz or anybody who's going to join us? There's
Pray for the
Buzz.
devil.
Yeah, Hans, thank you. Actually, maybe we'll get this thing rolling. Okay, I'm Jim Quancy, so I'm the Commodore of the Pacific Cup. Gonna do some quick around robin here on who we have. We got Bob Hendon, wave your hand, Bob, who him and his daughter are very involved in safety at sea, safety related topics. And I'm sure we're gonna have some questions on that. Hawkeye and Corey are running the Pacific Offshore Academies. And Corey's kind of put this town hall together kind of really quick. Hawkeye or his wife's having a baby in a few weeks, so Corey's gonna stand in. Melinda runs our technical committee. And I mean all things technical. Rowena is chief inspector. She's got a whole team of inspectors that I'm sure some of you have engaged with. And I'm sure we're going to get a few questions in that area that will probably go back and forth between Rowena and Melinda. And we'll kind of see how that goes. We've got Buzz. Now Buzz is unique in that he's a member of Richmond Yacht Club and he's a member of Kaneohe Yacht Club. So he gives us kind of ears on both sides of the ocean, so to speak. He's also heavily involved in boat weigh-ins. And if Jim Antrim doesn't come, he may help a little bit on what's going on the whole rating situation that he's quite familiar with. He might help a little when we start to talk about shipping boats, which we've got some more information on, some late breaking information, which I know those of you who have smaller boats will be interested in. And we have Katie, who just dropped in.
Hello,
Um,
everybody.
Hi, Katie, who is managing the container shipments. She's going to she'll be here to talk to us about that. Yeah, well, there's a hey Katie from our group out there.
Oh,
So
no.
so what I'm going to ask is, use the Q&A to ask questions so we can kind of see what's going on. We're not going to jump right into the Q&A though. We're going to go kind of around the table and have all the panelists talk a little bit about kind of what's top of mind in their area, which may spark some more questions. And then when we go through the Q&A, it'll be, you'll know who they are. We kind of get back to each of your items. I did want to give a shout out to the Pacific Northwest group. My wife and I were up there. We were supposed to have a party on 26th. It snowed, Omicron. So anyway, my apologies for those of you who got stiffed. But what did come from that was a number of you saying, yeah, but we need to talk. We've been holding up all our questions. We need to talk. So we did this quick rustle to do this town hall meeting. And as we go around the table, you hear about POAs and everything else we're doing to kind of keep things on the track. Yeah. And with that, we are going to go around the table in no particular order. So each of our speakers can say what's top of mind for them or what they think may be top of mind for those of you listening in. So Bob, Mr. Hinden, you want to jump in?
Sure. I even have an announcement. So we've recently held 3 safety at sea hands-on courses. The first 2 were at Encinal Yacht Club in Alameda in November, and there was just one in the last week at Kaneohe Yacht Club on Oahu. Everything all went well. I think all the attendees were very happy. There's some evidence that the pool was warmer in Kaneohe than it was in Alameda in November, but people in Hawaii complained about it being too cold anyway. Yeah, and these are, the part of the reason we do this, besides just improving everyone's safety, is that to be in the race, a certain percentage of the crew, including skipper, needs to have a current safety at sea certificate. So this is the courses and how you do that. I am pleased to announce that we're going to have 2 more hands-on sessions. These are going to be April 9th and 10th. It'll be held at Encinal Yacht Club again. So you will get to jump in the pool. It might be warmer. Chuck Hawley will be the moderator. He moderated all the past ones. This is for the hands-on course, which is the sort of the end of the series. In order to get the international certificate, you need to also take the online portions, parts 1 through 15, prior to this. So we do not have registration open, but if you're interested in attending, I'll put this in the chat, but send an email to SAS@Pac Cup, PacificCup.org, and we will let you know when registration opens. We want to give priority to people in the race, or people attending these events. So that's what I had. I'll put that in the chat room now.
Anything else you want to mention, Bob?
Hold on.
Or you're good, because I almost want to go straight to Melinda to talk about what the safety at sea requirement is, as we just put out the sailing instructions.
Yes, go ahead. That was it. I can answer questions later if people have them.
Yeah, we'll get to questions later. So Melinda,
Yes.
you're up.
So yeah, we just issued the sailing instructions this week. We tried to get them out so that everyone could at least have a peek at them before tonight. We also issued a couple of amendments to the Pcer equipment regs. And one of them is related to the safety at sea stuff. We extended the requirement so that if you have a certificate for the two-day class, including the hands-on, it needs to have been taken within 6 years before the start instead of within 5. Before this meeting tonight, I was looking at it a little more carefully, and I think we have a little bit of an anomaly that I want to talk to the technical committee about and clarify, because we still have the 5 years for the 60% of the people taking the 1 day on which you can do online class. So we're going to probably make a little bit of a clarification on that. But our goal was really to make it easier for people, because we recognize that we are providing some hands-on classes, but it's somewhat limited because of COVID, and we want to make sure people can still come race with us. I think that's all I have. Was that completely confusing? Hopefully not.
Anything else, Melinda, that is a popular topic that you want to mention?
No.
You don't have to. You don't need to get the audience
Nothing
roused
springs-
up.
Nothing springs to mind, and I have a feeling there'll be plenty of people with questions, so.
I know I always do. It's like, is it life rafts or what's with those 3 sails? I have to take 2 of
Right.
them. All these interpretations.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with that, then I'm actually going to go to Rowena, who her and her team has to kind of interpret in person some of these regulations.
Okay, so first off, like I always recommend, please read the requirements in great detail and every single sentence in each requirement. Sometimes people tend to not get all the way through the requirement before they give up and go on to the next one. So it's really important you look in detail. So another thing is try and do your qualifying voyage. If you're a first timer, this is for first timers, please do that as soon as you can. You'll be surprised what you find when you and your crew go out for your first overnight outside the gate. It's really, really valuable. You find out what's going to break, who's going to get seasick, who can really do what. It's really, really valuable. We've had boats go out and do it and say, oh, shoot, we broke some stuff, fixed it, went out and did it again. So I just can't encourage you enough to do your qualifying voyage as soon as possible. Other than that, make sure if you aren't buying a life raft, you've got it all set up for a rental. Just really be working on your gear now. You should be well into your requirements by now, and use the checklist online. You just log into your entry page and you can check off the items as you think you've gotten them complete on the left-hand side. And that way we can kind of see how you're doing, get an idea of how well you're progressing. And then when your inspector comes, they'll check everything off on the right-hand side, and that'll officially go into your % complete calculation that will happen. That'll then show you where you stand overall on all your requirements, not just the equipment requirements. So that's all I can think of for right now. Any questions?
I'm going to spike you with one, Rowena, since she started with the 150-mile qualifier, and I've seen here in San Francisco, you go out the gate, you go 150 miles, you're kind of out in the ocean. In Southern California, if you do like the Around the Islands race, is that good? It's kind of half in the ocean. Or the Pacific Northwest folks, they got a couple of long races, over 150 miles, but some of them are kind of, in the Salish Sea, and other ones are really out in the ocean. Any advice on what qualifies?
Well, down in San Diego, we did a couple times we did the Bishop Rock race. That's Catalina around Bishop Rock and into San Diego. That's almost 200 miles and well outside San Clemente Island. So we were definitely out in the ocean there. So that's that's a good one, even though it is really agonizing sailing off Southern California at night. There's not much wind. And for Pacific Northwest, we've looked at some of the races. I don't have those off the top of my head. And it seems like if they're long enough and overnight, then to me, that's acceptable. And I've sailed in Pacific Northwest a little bit, and it can be pretty rough at night, just like it can be out on the ocean, especially out in Straits of Juan de Fuca. That can really be a nasty area. So I'm not discounting sailing inside there at all, since it is a long haul to get out into the open ocean from there. So for me, some of those races up there, to me, are good.
Cool. So just for, I'm watching the Q&A chat area, and you could tell who's ever running the Pacific Northwest offshore, kind of that Portland to Seattle thing. It's like, yeah, that's serious bit of ocean. No ifs, ands, or buts.
Yeah.
Okay, so we will keep moving along, and maybe next, maybe it's the Hawkeye and Corey show on what's happening with the Pacific Offshore Academies in this Omicron COVID craziness.
Yeah, as I think probably all of you heard, we decided that it wasn't really reasonable to try to hold an in-person event at the end of this month, given all the uncertainty and craziness around Omicron. So we did cancel that. In lieu of that, we will have some virtual events hosted on some of those topics coming over the next couple of months. So stay tuned to your email and to the Facebook page for duplicate announcements, hopefully, on those events. We'll have Peter King will come and talk about instruments. If any of you guys know Peter King, he's the guy to talk to if you really want to dial your instruments. And we have some people that will be sponsored by North. Peter Eisler and Chris Bedford are going to give a strategic overview of the race course to Hawaii and share a lot of cool analysis of different weather patterns and things like that. And then we'll put together a few more of those virtual events in March. So stay tuned for those. And then we are still hoping to have the final POA that was scheduled at the end of February. The emphasis there should be on preparing yourself as a crew, and skippers are also part of the crew. You have to contribute while on the boat in all the same ways and prepare yourself to do the race. So there'll be a lot of material there on that, and it should be a great opportunity to socialize a bit and network a bit. Will be hosted at the Corinthian Yacht Club. So hopefully COVID calms down a little bit and we can meet you all in person at the end of February.
So Corey, if I have this right, the Pacific Offshore Academy #2 will be turned into 3, 4, 5 hour-long sessions held maybe every 2 weeks, and recorded.
Yes, we will definitely record them. Although of course we encourage you to come and ask questions and engage with the speakers. I don't think it will be at a consistent 2-week pace for a variety of reasons. We have a Sunday event for this final POA, and just speakers aren't always available in the cadence we would prefer. But we'll try to roughly stick to Wednesday nights around this time, 7 p.m. So Wednesdays.
Don't we actually have dates locked down for those?
February. I have a few locked
10,
down. So February 2nd will be
16th.
Peter King's talk. And that should have been in the email that announced this event. And then on February 10th will be the talk sponsored by North Sails with Peter Eisler and Chris Bedford. And after that, it's a little more tenuous, but we will make sure everybody gets notified.
Cool. Thank you, Corey. Anything more, Hawkeye? You good?
Yeah, I'll just say I'm pretty disappointed about the cancellation of the POA and the in-person event. It'd be nice to see everybody in person. That was pretty fun, the last one, but so hopefully we'll get back to that. But I did have one other thing to mention. I've been getting a lot of contacts from eager crew. So I thought I'd put in a plug for all of those very talented sailors. I know that there's some great people, great sailors, because they've been messaging me directly, who are listed on the Pac Cup crew list. So for those of you who are still getting crews together, take a look through there, and you might find some great crew there.
Thank you, Hawkeye. And with that, we will move to Katie, who is our shipping container wrangler.
All right. Hi, everybody. I'm Katie Cornetta, and I'm going to be managing all of the container logistics. So this year we'll be having a 40-foot shipping container going from the East Bay to Oahu and again back after the race, from Oahu back to California. And so hoping that in February, we will have online the ability to pay, as well as the ability to book an appointment for loading and unloading of the container. And we'll set that up so that, we'll recommend times for boats based on their projected, arrival times. And so be looking for that, be looking for communications for that. And I'll go ahead and put in the chat the email that you can reach me at if you have any questions in the meantime. But for now, I just want everyone to know that we will have the container going both ways this year. Here's the email you can reach me at if you have any questions in the meantime. Any questions right now?
Well, we'll get to that. So I'm just going to spike this
Okay.
a little. We'll get to Buzz, and then we'll open up the Q&A. But
Sounds
just to
good.
spike it a little, we've been talking to Katie. It looks like to ship your stuff to Oahu will be about $300. And whether you have a lot of stuff or little stuff, doesn't matter. It's about $300. If you have a crazy amount of stuff, like you're shipping a 12-foot rib and 350 chain, and then we need to talk. But within reason, it's a fixed cost, so kind of easy decision. And we're looking at the trip back, which will generally be big boats with big stuff, shipping stuff back. It'll probably be $400-ish. And again, kind of a fixed fee to ship your stuff back to the East Coast. Not to the East Coast, to California. The actual places the container comes and goes, the container will be at Richmond Yacht Club for a while. And I'm sure people are going to go, well, Katie, when can I load my stuff up at the last minute? Because I'm not going to be there 3 days before my start. And then the container will be sitting in the parking lot at Kaneohe Yacht Club, maybe 150 feet from your boat, which is oh so convenient. Okay, and with that, we'll move to Buzz.
Hi, everybody. So I'll just say a few words about the weighing and measuring process. I know that's on the minds of a lot of the people out there. We have had one successful weighing and measuring event at Berkeley Marine Center last year, late last year. That worked out well. We've got two more events coming. The first one is on Saturday, April 16, and that is for local boats. And then we have a third event that's for out-of-town boats, to the extent they haven't already gotten weighed and measured, and we'll talk about that in a moment. And that one is June 18, also a Saturday. We've got pretty good tidal conditions for both of those upcoming events, and so we should be able to get as many as 9 or 10 boats in. There are already several boats signed up for both of the events, so if you are planning to get your boat weighed and measured for the PHRF certified certificate process, you should go to the website and sign up for that. So two other things. One is I am also responsible for getting mentors assigned to to skippers. We've got a lot of boats that have signed up for that. I think the process is going well. If you, particularly if you are a first timer or you have a sense that you want to get some help from experienced people that have done the race multiple times, let me know and we'll get you assigned a mentor. The mentor is not an inspector. The mentor is instead intended to answer questions and help people get organized. So let me know about that. The last thing is I wanted to put a plug in for a particular race as people consider what they're going to be doing leading up to the Pac Cup. Rowena listed a number of events. I think a great event that you could turn into your 150 miler if you needed to, but a great event in any event is the Spinnaker Cup, which is the first leg of the California Coastal Race Week. And it's from San Francisco down to Monterey. And the beauty of the race is that it is a microcosm of what you'll experience during the first several days of the Pac Cup in all likelihood, which means a beat out of the bay, followed by turning south and having the wind slowly clock as you make your way down the coast. So you get a good chance during that period to take a look at your crossovers for when you use reaching sails and when you go to the big spinnaker for the last half of the race, which can be a very exciting run, and with what is often a pretty windy jibe or two getting out from the ocean into Monterey Bay and to the finish line. So I would recommend that for people if they want to make it into a 50 miler, 150 miler qualifying race, they would need to turn around and sail back to San Francisco after it's over, which can be an illuminating event for finding out if people are prone to seasickness. But that can be a good trip. So there,
Yeah,
Jim.
but Buzz, back in 2016, that's what we did to qualify. We went to Monterey and never stopped, came right back home.
Yeah.
Yeah. Buzz, I have a question. Were you going to do weigh-ins in the Pacific Northwest? Is that going to happen? Is that a maybe?
Yeah, good question. I don't know exactly where it stands, but Chris, what is Chris's last name? Whitmer, is in the process of, I think, of organizing a weighing event up there. And so boats in that area should check with him if they haven't already to find out the specifics of it. We'll support it in any way we can, but Chris is an experienced licensed measurer, and he knows the drill for getting the measurements information into the PHRF committee. So I think that will help, and that will make things a lot easier for the many boats that we have coming down from there.
So I'm actually going to jump in because I've seen a thread of questions that we can probably keep going in relatively short answers. Hey, mate, let's see if I have it right, Buzz. If you have an OOR certificate, you don't need to get weighed. We basically have your weight. If you have an old PHRF certificate that was certified, like you did a weigh-in from 2018, if you haven't changed the boat, I just saw Jim Antrim jump in and say, good to go. You don't need to weigh in. Assuming you haven't made a significant change to the weight of the boat. Okay, and I think I heard Melinda. Did you try to raise your hand, Melinda?
I did. I thought there was also a qualifier just on the qualifier thing. Isn't there a May 5th race that's going to be around 150 miles that would be a qualifier?
Yes. So the OYRA, which I'm a board member of, is going to have a 150 miler. It's going to be a longitude race. Straight out, cross the longitude, come on back, here in San Francisco. So that'll be pretty straightforward. The other thing I realized, Buzz, is half the group here may not be racers. So let's be clear with folks. Take the overall Pacific Cup, this big bowl. To win that, you need an OOR certificate or a certified PHRF certificate. And a certified PHRF certificate from Northern California requires you be weighed. Now, you don't want to get weighed, you don't have to get weighed. You'll be given a PHRF certificate. You can win your division. You just can't win the whole cup unless you've been weighed.
And Jim, I've had several people ask me why there is that hurdle if you want to compete for the overall. And the reason's pretty simple. Boat weight is such a critical factor for a long downwind race that in order to rate everybody as fairly as we can, we want the PHRF committee to have the benefit of that information and to issue a certificate. You know, old boats tend to get heavier over time, so they tend to benefit from getting weighed. Boats that have gone through changes and have tried to lighten ship, they need to be weighed. So it's if you can do one of these weighing events, it's not that expensive. It's $200 per boat. The hard part is getting your boat organized for the weighing event. You got a lot of gear to take off, and you got a lot of gear to pay attention to as to what should be on and what shouldn't be on board.
And Buzz has some great sea stories. Somebody comes to be weighed in. They think they weigh 16,000 pounds. Well, somewhere around 20,000 pounds, they had to stop trying to lift the boat up. It was too heavy for the lift. Oh.
So we know that design weights are sort of a first offer from the boat builder, and that actual weights can vary significantly. But we expect to have a heavier duty scale for the April and June weighing events. So we shouldn't be stopped for a boat that comes in significantly heavier than the design weight.
Has there been a couple of questions about how to sign up for those? Can you clarify that?
Yeah, you go to the website. Let me do this. After we start the Q&A, I'll go to the website. I'll do it myself and then come back and tell everybody, you know, what they have to click on in order to get there.
Also, someone asked if they can talk to you, if you're open to leaving your email address.
I will. I'll do that right now.
Okay. And with that, so Hawkeye, it looks like you've been scanning the Q&A stuff. Anything jump out? We should jump on first.
Oh, let's see.
Well, the weigh-in stuff's been answered.
Yeah.
Someone's got a question for Buzz about ORCI ratings. Probably a Jim Antrim thing, who's lurking here somewhere.
Yeah, Jim Antrim told me he couldn't see himself, but his computer says he's on, but I don't. It may be that he signed on as a participant and not as a panelist. I don't know.
Yeah, just folks know Jim Antrim is on the Northern California PHRF committee, and he's a yacht designer, and most of you probably heard of Antrim. So I will be able to help with as many detailed rating questions as you can get. Okay, chat. What do we got here? Oh, Carl's going, you guys are having that event at the same time as the double-handed Farallones. Yeah,
There's only so many weekends.
That's an understatement.
One of the organizers is very unhappy about it too.
Oregon offshore, absolutely. Great race to beat your crew up and prove them out. Though frankly, I think most of you on bigger boats, you're going to sail your boat down in San Francisco, and that's a gnarly 800 miles usually.
By the way, there's also a bunch of questions in the chat, not just in the QA.
Yeah, here's an interesting one. Somebody's on the wait list, and if they don't make it into the race, can we ship their stuff in the container for the $300? You know, Mark, I think we'd be happy to. Katie,
I would
what's
agree
your-
with that.
Yeah. Katie loves it. Katie, what's your email? I think Katie already put, oh, there it is. She's got her email, so everybody's got that. I see someone promoting the Pacific Northwest Offshore Race. We got some links there. We already did the weight thing. Corey put in the chat all the dates and the details for the Zoom versions of the second Pacific Offshore Academy. He's got 3 or 4 of them in there. And I'll tell you, the one on March 23rd is from George Washington University on medical prep. And I'll tell you, I've been out there and I've had to call them. And knowing they're there when somebody's sick is pretty cool. And I don't know what we would have done if we didn't have that. It would have not been good.
Jim,
Yes.
I see Carl Robrook asking the deadline for the PHRF certificate submission is May 1st, and he's wondering about an April 16th way. Maybe Buzz can address that.
Yeah, sure. The PHRF committee meets, I don't know exactly what day of the month, but late in the month. And so the expectation is that they will have all of the information they need promptly after the April 16 weigh-in, and will be in a position to issue certificates as soon as they have that April meeting after that. It's obviously trickier for the June event, but same thing. They will, if necessary, convene a special meeting to consider the information from the June boats.
Yeah, I got one here from Bob Walden. He's got a-
Jim, let me just make one other comment, which I've made before, but it bears repeating. Get your application, PHRF application, in whether or not you have been weighed and measured. You can let the committee know when you submit that you want a certified certificate as soon as that information is available. But the committee can issue an uncertified certificate and then replace it with a certified one as soon as that job gets done. And so what they don't want to do is be bogged down with a bunch of 11th hour applications. So get your applications in now.
So Buzz, does the measurer, you know, Dick Horn or Chris, do they send the weights in directly to the PHRF committee?
Yes,
They do. And Jim Antrim snuck in, though it says Hawkeye, so who knows how he did that. How you doing, Mr. Antrim?
Good, yeah.
So I've got a question here. Bob Walden, he's got a Cal 39. He's got an ORR certificate, but they didn't weigh the boat. Does he still need to get weighed? And I'm like, Bob, just go get weighed. What's the big deal? It's not that far. But anyway, any Mr. Antrim, any official comment on that? And you are muted, Jim.
Yeah, we're not hearing you, Jim.
Oh, yeah.
There we go.
No, I mean, it's important to get weighed. As you said earlier, you know, you're not going to compete for the overall if you don't do it. So it's a worthwhile exercise.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me
also-
add one thing, which is that if you have a current, and I emphasize current, ORR or ORC certificate, and you're going to be racing in a PHRF division, you can submit that current certificate to the PHRF committee, and they can, on that basis, issue you a certified PHRF certificate. So that is a substitute for getting weighed. Again, as Jim indicated, it still may make sense to get weighed because you'll be heavier than the class weight that might be the basis for the ORR or ORC certificate that you have. But that's good enough for the PHRF committee to be able to issue a certified NCPHRF certificate. And
Okay.
I see a question about ORCI. Jim, I would guess, I haven't checked that out, but I would guess that an ORCI certificate has derived weight in it, and therefore that could count too.
Or is that a sistership thing? So it really doesn't.
Yeah.
So I have a side on the weighing. The weighing is a really great way to get stuff off your boat that's been accumulating. I really encourage you to get weighed because you have to take everything off the boat. And it's a great time to then only put back onto the boat what you really need for the race. It's a great boat cleansing event. I highly recommend it.
Oh,
Just inside.
yeah, Rowena, I think better yet than lightening up the boat is just knowing where everything is on your boat
Yeah.
when you put it
Yeah.
back in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. I do have a question here. Somebody's trying to figure out if their boat's going to end up in ORR or PHRF. Yeah, so I can, Kyle asked this question. Hey, Kyle, if you go back into chat and tell us what kind of boat you have, we might be able to get Jim to guess. But we'll see.
Jim, we could talk for a minute about the way we get there on where to, which division to put a boat in. And our dividing line is your boat faster or slower than an Antrim 27 downwind? If it's faster, then it belongs in ORR with the big guys. If it's slower, it's probably a PHRF boat. But note that if a boat is close, or maybe even if it's not close to that dividing line, and a skipper decides that they would rather race in one division or the other, based on who their competition is, they can petition the technical committee to assign that boat to the other division. And I don't think we've had anybody do that yet, but we've had some people that I know are thinking about that. And so I'd encourage people to reflect on where which division they'd rather race on if they have a boat that is near to that cutoff.
Well, it's actually not an Antrim 27. It happens that an Antrim 27 is sort of close to the fence also, but it's 550 downwind rating is the break point. So if you're faster than that, you're in ORR, unless you're double-handed.
Right.
OB33s, and there's a bunch of boats, or a few boats that are kind of near the fence there.
Yeah, I would like to, expand that, on this rating thing, reach out, let's talk, don't get too hung up. And division splits are not done strictly by rating. We try to get like boats in the same divisions. So you'll end up with divisions where we try to push things. So, hey, the heavy, not displacement boats are in one division, and the sport boats are in another division. It will frequently not be perfect because we don't have the right mix of boats at the right speed, but we absolutely do our best to make that happen. Okay. Yeah, Jim?
I believe we also have a thing in the NOR where you can request a shift to another division if you're sort of close or close on rating, or you think your type is wrong for the division you're in or whatever.
So I want to bring up something that we've been talking kind of racy stuff, and have our group here maybe a little less racy. So I'm going to put something out there. If you need to book a hotel room, a house, Airbnb, VRBO, do it now. Hawaii has been changing the rules a bit. They've been tightening up on short-term rentals. If you just need a room, you're probably okay on a short-term rental. If you need a house, short-term, there may be a problem. So, get up on Airbnb, VRBO, start looking, don't wait till late in the game. This is tricky business. I know, sometimes you go there, you're there by yourself or you're there with a spouse. You don't need a lot of space and you can fit anywhere, but sometimes the whole family's there and you need space for 8 or 10 people. And that may be a little tricky this year because of the Hawaii rules. I call it the anti-Airbnb rules. Which is really about local people having a hard time, buying houses because their houses are being turned into rentals.
Yeah, we had a lot of challenges finding a place for us and our crew. So,
Today, I saw a lot of RVs, campers, and vans listed on Airbnb for that area. Very strange. They're being creative.
By the way, since Rowena brought it up, Rowena and her husband Rob would typically stay on the boat the whole week. Now, that's not for everybody. Some people want to get
Highly recommend it. Highly recommend it.
Everything there was at the.
Everything is at Kaneohe Yacht Club. You step off the transom onto the breakwater and you walk right up to the swimming pool or the shower or the bar or the snack bar. Everything is there that you need. The snack bar is there for breakfast and lunch, and then there's a dinner every night. I think the first time we went, Rob didn't leave Kaneohe Yacht Club grounds for a week. So it's a pretty cool place to stay, and you don't have to go very far after the parties.
Yeah, you can buy a pitcher of Mai Tais and not be nervous about it.
Not a problem.
So on the topic of logistics and timing, there have been a couple of questions about when different divisions will be starting. Do we have any? Can we make a comment on that?
We can make some generalizations. Double-handed, usually the half the double-handers, the slower ones are going to do Monday. The faster ones, sometimes it's Tuesday, sometimes it's Wednesday. Depends on how many fast ones we have. The slower boats, and I'd say, PHRF above 100 crude probably starts Monday. You get the big boys, if you're a Santa Cruz 70 or a Transpac 52, you're probably a Thursday. Yeah, and then there's probably a bunch of people in the middle going, am I Tuesday or Wednesday? Which is it? I really suggest, yes.
There's a specific question on when the more 24s will start, and a second specific question on when we'll have an idea of when these when we'll announce the schedule.
Yeah, so more 24s, it's Monday. And the only question is, have we worked through all the tides? Because we try to start everybody at the same tide state that hopefully is no worse than slack and is ideally a bit of an ebb to get everybody kind of squirted out real quick. We do our best, our damnedest to make sure nobody has to fight a flood to get out. But sometimes that's a start at 10 or 11 in the morning, and sometimes it's kind of 1 in the afternoon. Depends on the tides. And I see Buzz put his email address up in the chat area if someone wants to talk to Buzz about weigh-ins.
I see a question about, do we need to reserve slips for Hawaii? Which the answer is no, right?
No, Hawaii has the list of the entrants. They know you're coming. And they basically have found a space for you ahead of time. And they know where they're going to put you. For the kind of 40-foot and under boats, you end up by the bulkhead. And if you get there early, you're kind of on the front row with your stern up against the bulkhead, which means it's one step onto land and maybe 5 more steps into the swimming pool. If you come a little later, and again, you're in that sub 40-foot range, you may end up in the second row. So you're 1 row back. So you have to go step over somebody else's boat. And that's typically, half the fleet, 2/3 of the fleet is in those spots. The bigger boats tend to get put in slips. And, one of the things we ask you for is the width and the draft of your boat, and Kaneohe uses it to decide where to put you. The big boats go at the very end of the pier, so they have the biggest, kind of longest walk to the bar. Typically stern in. Depending, there's some chance some boats will be asked to anchor out. So, you have in the equipment requirements 2 sets of anchor gear and a certain amount of rode. And aside from safety reasons, and the race is full. I mean, we're probably going to have, there's a good chance we'll have 74 boats showing up in Kaneohe. Those are the 79 KYC boats and 4 KYC boats. That's a lot of boats. KYC will be absolutely at capacity. So there may be some, and it typically tends to be some of the bigger boats may get asked to move to an anchorage. And there's a great anchorage right there. And Kaneohe typically provides boats at certain times of the day to move you back and forth. And even if you're in anchorage, there'll be times you can bring your boat into the dock, loading, unloading, cleaning, provisioning, all those things you have to do. Some of this is a little unpredictable, especially the big boats, because some of the big boats, stay for a day or two, and then they take their boats around to Waikiki. So spaces clear up quickly, but it very much depends. What other questions?
There was a question from Kyle about there was a link apparently on the Pac Cup website that's down. Thanks for pointing that out. Ironically, it's the Join Pac Cup. It's a Join Pac Cup Yacht Club link, which is pretty funny. So I'm going to suggest, I'm going to use this as an opportunity to plug that everybody become members of the Pac Cup Yacht Club. It supports the race, gets involved, builds a community, and even volunteer and help out. And if you are so inclined, maybe you can even come in and help fix these kind of broken links also. So I'll just wanted to put that plug in there. And also I will post the correct join link in the chat for anybody who wants to join up there.
I see a question here. When will divisions be announced? It happens late in the game because it happens after that last PHRF meeting that takes place in mid-May. So hopefully early June. Sometimes it happens really late. So, but in the end, you're going, and the only question is, who's your competition?
And we get this question every year. Of course, people are anxious to book their flights and stuff, but it's always a Monday through Friday start sequence. And so if you know what your boat is relative to anybody who's ever raced before, you can look back at when the other boats, similar boats started, and you're not going to be off by more than a day. So that's a lot more predictable than when you're going to arrive.
Yeah, I see another question here. How deep is Kaneohe Harbor? If you're at the bulkhead, it's about 7 feet. If you're farther out, it's deeper than you have a keel. So that's never really been a problem. I mean, we get the very biggest boats at the end of the dock for the people who draw 10 feet, 12 feet. I shouldn't say that. We've had some boats that drew 18 feet. Yeah, they couldn't get into the dock, but that's a whole nother story.
So Jim, I saw a couple questions from Tony, who just got moved off the waiting list. And so he wants to know when the cruising division start is, and that's usually the first day, isn't it?
Usually Monday, yes. And the number of cruising boats we have is modest, so you can count on that Monday, July 4th.
Yeah, I think we've only got 4 right now. And then he also asked a good question, since he's new on the list, how can he get access to the previous emails and announcements and presentations and stuff?
So I think the presentations are all posted up on the website, but are all the emails someplace? Anybody know?
It's a good question.
It's a great question.
Yeah,
So
I don't know
Michael-
about, I doubt emails, but there's a lot of past information on the website for many years.
But I think the kind of the newslettery things that Michael points out, there's a library of those you can cruise through.
I see a question from Stacy Riggs about getting the trailers from the shipping terminal in Hawaii to Kaneohe. And in the past, we've had, I can't remember his name, but we had a young guy who kind of did runs with trailers, and he had a truck, which if we could organize for the little boats would be handy. But I don't believe we have anything organized yet, unless someone here has. Buzz, do you know anything about trailer movement?
I do not.
Okay,
All my information is too dated to repeat.
Yeah, I know you've done it a few times, Melinda. I've done it several times. And it's a mix of, so somebody reserves a big U-Haul truck that's appropriate in size. Now you have to keep in mind, the lifts at Kaneohe can only handle, and I'm gonna get this wrong, and Melinda probably knows, 2,000 or 3,000 pounds. I think it's 3,000. If you're more than that, you cannot lift at Kaneohe.
yeah. We should check what their current restriction is, just to make sure they haven't changed it. But we took Wolfpack out there. So I think it's 3,400 pounds is their limit.
Yeah, so just watch, like I know a Hobie 33 is over the limit. You know, things like Moors and Expresses are not a big deal.
Yeah.
And
you
I
have
should
to
ask,
you have to empty your boat completely
yeah,
if you're near the limit.
And
Obviously,
if
if
I
you take-
remember, we
Um,
had an incident where we broke their lift.
yeah, yes, Bob, that's what I was about to say. People should know when dealing with Kaneohe, and if you want to get your boat hoisted there, you need to be polite and deferential and humility, and they may say no. And when Bob said the crane broke, it wasn't the motor that broke, it was the crane fell over with a boat.
And it was a boat that was filled with their stuff. I think it was filled with wet sails, which did not help.
Yeah, yeah, so just recognize you may need to sail around to Kaneohe to get hauled. And if that's the case, you know, it's a half a day kind of cruise. And yeah. Okay, the other thing along those lines, just so you know, we've got a tentative, we've been talking to Pcer about boat shipping. And you know, Pcer has their normal, they have boats, barges leaving, I think it's every 2 weeks or so. The thing is, they deliver down to Long Beach and I think up to Seattle. Now, Michael. San Diego, okay. Michael Pcer, who's one of the sons whose family owns the business, has done the Pac Cup and sent us an email a few days ago that says, you know, I'm pretty sure we can do an Oahu to San Francisco run in mid-August. So for those of you with small boats, and if you're willing to wait, mid-August means your boat will sit in Hawaii for 3 weeks maybe. That is not a sure thing. Don't take it to the bank yet, but it's looking good.
So for those people who haven't shipped a boat before, especially if you're going to ship a larger one, like we did the Cal 40 once, and it's not trivial. You have to get someone, you have to get a truck to haul your trailer to the ship. The ship brings a trailer over. You have to hire a truck to pick up your trailer and take it to a storage facility. You have to pay the storage facility. Then you have to pay to get the trailer over to the boat yard where you're hauling your boat out and putting it on the trailer. Then you have to pay a truck to take it back to the ship. They'll load it on the ship on a roll on, roll off. Then when you get back to wherever, Bay Area or LA, you have to hire a truck again to pick up the trailer and take it to a boat yard to put your boat back in the water. So especially for the bigger boats, it's not a trivial issue at all. And for the bigger boats that want to do that, I'd be happy to share our experiences with that.
So,
They can email me.
Yeah, I do want to remind, notice Rowena said trailer, trailer, trailer. If your boat will not fit on a trailer, it's a totally different animal.
And you have to have a trailer. Borrow,
rent, whatever, yeah.
the
So,
shipping company won't provide a trailer.
Yeah. You can ship bigger boats, but all of a sudden it becomes cranes and cradles and it gets pretty pricey pretty fast.
Yeah, there used to be a guy who would arrange all of that for you, but he is not available anymore.
Yeah. So Rowena mentioned, so Cal 40, Express 37s, those are two kind of boats that are kind of on the upper limits of what you can stick on a trailer.
Rowena, I would just mention that I think in 2018, it was easier for people to do it because the shipping company, while they had initially said that the trailers with boats on them were going to have to wait at a remote location and then get moved in, they were able to find some a part of their staging area where boats could be taken directly from Kaneohe. So that second step, which could be difficult to organize, was at least that time around not a problem.
Yeah, Buzz, I'm talking about the big boat like the Cal 40, where we had to take it around Honolulu and everything. So it's different from Express 27 trailer. It's a whole different way of managing it.
Yeah, and we didn't say this, but if somebody's new to this, generally the deal with Pcer or Matson, we're actually still talking to Matson too, is there's a single price to ship the trailer to Hawaii, the empty trailer, and then to bring the trailer and the boat back. If what Rowena said didn't get through, this is a highly, you got to be flexible. I was going to say unpredictable. It's not totally unpredictable, but you definitely have to be flexible because there's a lot of different people involved in unions, and so you got to be ready for a little zigging and zagging to get this to happen. On the other hand, it happens every year, every race. 10, 15 boats, 20 boats get shipped back. Is it in 98% of the time it just works. But if you're the type of person who wants total predictability, this could be a little agonizing at times. And occasionally somebody has to fly back to Hawaii. Okay, we've got some, I'm going to encourage some of the people. It sounds like somebody would like Rowena. Nick would like a long talk about shipping a big boat.
Yeah, so I'll put my my email address in. So everybody who wants to talk about shipping a big boat, let me know.
Somebody wants a tip for finding trailers. Hook or by crook. Contact boat yards, contact people with big boats who might have them. It's funny, the Cal 40 group, it's probably 20 of us know 2 people with trailers, and you know who to call, and their trailer usually sits there most of the time in their Sometimes they'll rent it to you. Sometimes they'll just let you have it gratis because it's sitting there gathering dust. Express 37 trailers, again, not a lot of those things around. You start talking to boatyards, social media, kind of get the word out what you're looking for.
I mean, there are companies who specialize in trucking boats around the country, so they probably know about trailers or renting them or all of that. I haven't done that in a long time.
Here comes a question. Insurance. Anybody want to talk about insurance? Then I'll do it, having been through the rigmarole. So the ideally, you would have had a talk with your insurance company a year ago, because they will tell you whether they will give you a rider for a trip to Hawaii or not. If you want to go get insurance from someone who will typically give riders, you kind of have to be with them before you need the rider. They don't want you to show up, get insurance for a year, because getting a rider is a hassle. They have to go to the underwriters. They got to get all kinds of information. Oh, by the way, your boat has to be surveyed most of the time. There are a few exceptions. I know with some insurance companies don't look, but that's a don't ask, don't tell. And if something goes wrong, who knows what's going to happen. The ones who are really kind of upfront about it, assume you're going to be dealing with, at least for a bigger boat, some kind of survey, resumes of crew coming and going. They may have issues of trip back. You may not have less than, let's say, 4 people, depending on the size of your boat. They must have certain qualifications. So you really want to start that discussion early. For those of you who are double-handed, I've had fine success getting insurance double-handed. Single-handed, forget it. And double-handed, you can generally do it. Yeah. The other sticky part when you're talking to your insurance company is, depending on what you're going to do, just make sure they're insuring you for both directions. I've had ones where they'll insure you for one direction and not the other. Or they go, oh, we want you to have a survey in Hawaii before we insure you for the way home. Talk about a pain in the butt. I got to get surveyed before the race and when I'm in Hawaii. No, thank you. So anybody out there have insurance companies where they have great experiences? Ooh, quiet, not good.
Well, it's great. You send the money and then you hope that nothing ever happens to the boat.
Yeah. Somebody I know had like military insurance, and it was a charm. They didn't ask any questions, and retired military person, and it was like piece of cake. But nothing ever went wrong, so who knows?
Yeah, my situation is the insurance agent contacted me saying that the current carrier of the insurance is no longer going to insure boats. So we'll find you a new one, but I had to have the boat surveyed.
Yeah. In fact, I was just talking to one of our agents who was having this boat haul to drop the rudder and get the boat ready for the race. And I said, you better check with your insurance company, because that's the time to get the survey.
Yep.
So another little tidbit is insurance while the boat is on the ship. If you're shipping your boat, that they don't cover your boat with insurance. You have to do it.
And the shipping company has this very limited insurance that if something bad happens, it's not going to be good.
Yeah, they'll give you something like, I think Rob said $1,500 or something. It's nothing.
We have more questions out there, or have we answered them? Hey, Bob, did you get all your questions answered? Shipping smaller boats? I mean, it's easy. Trailer goes over, you load up an Express 27 there at Kaneohe. Hopefully, worst case, you sail around. You rent like a U-Haul truck and you take it to the wharf and you leave it. And it's pretty straightforward. Ugh, USAA won't insure bigger boats. Well, I guess they found that loophole and closed it.
So there's another one from Carl about shipping by Pcer to San Diego. It says, is there a special agreement with Pacific Cup Yacht Club on rates? We don't have any agreements yet on rates, do we?
Not yet. And people should know the ships, they're kind of like airlines. They set their tariffs, as they call them, which is the shipping rate, about 6 months before it happens. So that's like now. So you could expect over the next couple of weeks, you really should reach out to Pcer directly and talk to them, because it'll be, a dozen of you call them and they're going to go, okay, we need to get the tariff settled and out. And it is a very specific tariff for the race, because this empty trail is over, boat's back. And you will learn all kinds of interesting things about shipping things on boats. Length versus width versus volume, and like what's volume on a boat with a big keel. It's an interesting experience.
Yeah, when we shipped our Valiant 42, the question is, will it go through the big door on the ship without taking like winches off and stuff? It wasn't fun.
You shipped a Valiant 42?
We did, and it arrived and was good.
We're talking a seriously big trailer, quadruple axle or something, or?
Yeah, it was. It was a big boat moving trailer that they shipped over.
Way cool.
The next time we did it, we sailed back.
I should tell people, I haven't done 7 of these. I like to sail back. The fishing, the reading, the relaxing, but I know everybody doesn't have the time to do that.
Jim, how many times have you sailed your boat back?
I've done 19 trips there, 7 back. I love it. I hate to say it, the older I get, the more fun the trip back is, and the more stressful the race over is. Oh, we got a question here. So how many boats deliver home? There'll probably be, we have a big group, 74 boats. There'll probably be 20-ish. I mean, if you're a Moore 24, Express 27, Antrim 27, I mean, you're not going to sail a boat home. Not that it hasn't been done, but, it takes a unique individual to want to do that.
I would be happy to be a resource for people who have questions about shipping smaller boats back, because we've done it a number of times. And I'll put my email in the chat.
Hey, Melinda, you've done it 3 times or 4 times?
We've done double-handed 4 times, and we shipped those boats back, so yes.
26-footer, 30-footer.
30-footer, 30-footer, 30-footer. Now 24-footer, because it's a good idea to get smaller, right?
I'm with you. Before we all get too old to do that.
That's pretty much what we decided.
I still think you're crazy.
Yes, I get you too.
Questions? How are we doing? We are late. We are 15 minutes over.
We've also reached the no open questions point in our Q&A chat.
So I think we're going to call it a day. I would like to thank everybody who hang on there with us. We have 67. I think we peaked at 76, so we only lost a handful. I'd like to thank all our panelists. Well done. And I think this is an absolutely great start to kind of getting everybody on track. I will reinforce Rowena's inspectors and Buzz's mentors. A lot of these questions, you don't need to wait. Kind of reach out, engage, don't wait till the last minute. I'm a firm believer in when April rolls around, you need to be sailing, not prepping, not sorting things out. You need to be spending time with your crew, sailing the boat. And that means you got about 2 months. to make all that happen. So do your best. It'll be more fun if you can make that happen. And I know not everybody can. And people coming off the waiting list, they're like, yeah, I'm in a rush. But do what you can. So thank you, everyone. Have a great evening.
Thank you, everyone, for coming.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
You done?
See you, Jim.
See you, Hawkeye. Pleasure. So do you have 1 week left? What's the deadline?